Oh, welcome to Draft Week here on That's Good Broncos Sports.
There's a draft this week?
Yeah.
Which sport?
Rugby.
The rugby draft. Yeah.
We're getting that striker.
Fullbacks. A lot of tries.
The assaulter. Ooh.
You ever seen rugby in person?
No.
I saw a women's rugby match, I guess, a few months ago. Very entertaining.
Pretty intense.
Those girls can hit. I wouldn't last a second out there because I wouldn't hit a woman.
How brave of you.
Rugby. I know. Yeah. No, but it was very intense, very, very violent, really cool.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
I always think of the Friends episode when Ross plays rugby.
I don't think I got to that part in Friends.
Whoa. I'm not even a Friends guy. Like, I kind of don't like that show, but
No, it's I don't either.
I watched through a lot of it with Jess. He's trying to impress this woman he's dating or married to from England. I can't remember.
Right.
But he runs into her rugby friends and then he plays with them and gets his ass sort of handed to him all over the field.
I like the episode where he trains Easy Company.
I don't remember that one.
You know, World War II? You can catch that episode? Band of Brothers. I'm talking about.
Oh, wait. Oh, he's in Band of Brothers?
He's in Band of Brothers, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Episode 1.
Whew, went over my head.
Come on, bro.
I got to rewatch Band of Brothers. It's been a 10-year window. Like, I don't remember shit from that show.
I've seen it so many times. Yeah. Oh, well.
I thought it was a music documentary.
Making of the Band of Brothers.
Yeah. I thought it was about Hanson.
The Jonas Band of Brothers.
Yeah. I did see the Jonas documentary, actually. Also, Jess made me watch.
I'll definitely put that one on my list.
Anyway, welcome to That's Good Broncos. We are going to talk about the draft today. We're going to talk about what we think the Broncos are going to do based on some of their visits. That's a nice way of saying we don't really know. Hard to give a shit when they pick in the third round. I think there's a solid chance they move up. Also, I guess we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers since he got traded, and it will be used to be compared to the Broncos a little bit since they went all in for a different quarterback.
Yep.
But I'm Brendan Perna here with Will Keys. You know the show. We missed last week. We have been flaky. We know. But
what is there to talk about? Finally, I guess there's something to talk about this week. And later this week, we'll have a lot of content.
Yeah.
A lot of videos.
Yeah. Then the next podcast, that's the one you should listen to.
Yeah. Well, don't tell them not to listen to this one. But if you have to choose, if you only have a limited amount of time on this earth, which I suppose is true of everyone, I would pick the next one.
I only imagine that anyone who listens and watches this show actually has a lot of free time.
They must.
I can't see super busy people being like, I got to make time for these two ass clowns.
Yeah, neglecting their family for this.
Yeah. But if you like good coffee, check out benchwarmerbrew.com, baby.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a pretty cool fundraiser with Benchwarmer for the Alzheimer's Association coming up in May. So check it out. Got the great coffee. Loser's Blend. Still got some bags of those beans left. But you know the deal. All right, well, we'll get into the draft stuff, but let's talk about Rodgers because it finally happened. He finally went to the Jets. We knew he was going to the Jets, but now we know the compensation. And a lot of people started chirping at me saying, LOL, look at everything the Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson. Should have waited a year, you fucking idiot. You could have had Aaron Rodgers. First, I'm like, I'm not the GM, okay? So let's
get that straight.
I didn't pull the trigger. Would I have for Russ? Yes, I would have.
I would have too.
But what are your thoughts? If you're comparing it to the Broncos, kind of in that vacuum.
Well, I mean, you're getting a guy who's younger and Russell Wilson, obviously. You're getting a guy who's like publicly said that he wants to play in his 40s, whereas Aaron Rodgers, you don't know. You don't know. He's not exactly Tom Brady when it comes to speaking about his longevity.
Yeah, or being good.
Or being good. I don't know.
Just kidding. I'd never support Tom.
He's 39. Who knows? You could get it. You could get one kind of lame year out of the Jets, and that could be that. And Russell Wilson, good or bad, you know that he's here for as long as he wants to play or play well, right? So it didn't even occur to me when I saw the terms of the Aaron Rodgers trade. I'm trying to move forward and not backwards, which many people will say that's a cope for making one of the worst trades of the last 10 years. But that is how I cope with it, is by putting on blinders and putting my fingers in my ears and saying, nah. I can't hear you.
Yeah, we got 6 years to prove that it's not the worst trade. We've got 1 week to actually be past the insane compensation we gave up for the trade. There's another draft pick in 2024, I think, or whatever, but we got our first rounders back. We got a decent amount of picks next year, which actually could be used this year to move up in the draft if they want. We'll talk about that. But yeah, it's a different, it's a different situation. It's a different scenario. If Rodgers went to the Broncos last year, the compensation would have been about what they gave up for Russell Wilson, I imagine.
Yeah.
And you would have been giving up that for what you're looking at as 2 years. You're probably like, if they traded for Rodgers last year, we are very confident he's going to play 2 years. But I don't even think that's a safe bet with Rodgers, because he said he went into his darkness retreat believing he was going to retire. And that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a man, and I don't knock the process. Like, whatever you got to do to make your decisions, but you're dealing with a guy who's got to go into a darkness retreat to determine what he wants to do for the next year of his life. That's just that's a thing you got to deal with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's not a judgment. It is merely a fact. It's a statement of fact.
Trust me, I would love to make fun of it, but I am hoping to have Aaron Rodgers on this show next week, so I'm going to refrain. I got to make about 300 phone calls, and it could be happening. Just kidding, it won't. But yeah,
don't say that a kid.
And he's a different weird than Russ. We know that.
Yes. They're both weird. They're just like Aaron Rodgers. Well, first of all, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would be in a golf cart that crashes for somehow. I just don't think I don't think that's possible. Also, he wouldn't make fun of himself if he did that.
No. They both are a little too serious in different ways, but Russ was able to laugh at that one.
Yeah. I think no, Rodgers is a weird guy where I feel like, so if you run into the two of them at a party, Rodgers, like you say, oh, I want to go up and talk to this guy. And like 2 minutes into the conversation, you're like, I need to get out of this. This is getting weird. Whereas Russell Wilson, you're like, I don't really want to talk to that guy. And maybe you get roped into it and the conversation gets better and better as you go.
No, I think Russ is the guy who comes up to you and won't leave you alone at the party.
That might be true. Yeah. Yeah. And Rodgers is that guy who's like sitting on a beanbag, I think, in the back room doing God knows what.
Yeah. Like you You go back there for the party favors, the extra, the hidden party favors, the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
They're both so interesting. They get a lot of hate, but
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is as interesting as people make him out to be.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, they're interesting in that they're very different than a lot of other NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I don't say, and I don't even mean it like as a compliment, but they're not cookie cutter guy. Like Russ wants to be a cookie cutter guy so bad that he can't be. And Rodgers wants to not be that guy so bad that it plays wrong. The more he's able to, I don't know.
He's so desperate to not be a cookie cutter football player that he's becoming like a cookie cutter, like hipster,
counterculture
guy. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is basically me in high school, I think. Right? I tried
Which
so
is
hard
strange
to not
because
conform.
because he started like conforming. I don't know. We didn't know very much about him when he got drafted, I suppose, but his like evolution has kind of been in reverse from most functioning adults.
Yeah. Who do you think has a better year this year, Russ or Rodgers? I know the easy answer is Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
But Russ is younger. Russ is going to have a better coach. And here's an interesting observation wherein we've given Robert Saleh a pass as a good head coach, and the Jets haven't done shit since he's been there. But their defense has been good, right? Their defense has been very good, and that's what his specialty is.
Fourth best in scoring last year. Yeah.
He, in my opinion, has just gotten a pass because they haven't had a quarterback. You know who else didn't have a quarterback? Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio's defenses were very good. Offense sucked, but he was a piece of shit. Nathaniel Hackett, their defense was pretty good. Offense sucked. He was a piece of shit. Robert Saleh, maybe because he's just intimidating. Maybe because he looks the part. And I think he is a good head coach. Like, I think we'll see that this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah. And like, okay, I know it's, Joe Douglas is the GM, but, the head coach has a lot of input, and it's not like he inherited Zach Wilson. He was a part of that staff that selected Zach Wilson, second overall. Zach Wilson.
With Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Mac Jones still available. And I know we haven't seen shit from Trey Lance, but I am willing to say he is better than Zach Wilson at this point.
I think it would be very hard to be worse than Zach Wilson. What do you think happens there, by the way, with the 49ers and Trey Lance?
Oh, with the 40, I thought you meant with Zach Wilson.
No, I don't care what happens to Zach Wilson.
I think they're going to deal Trey Lance. I think, I don't know. I read the quote about John Lynch saying, they don't have an 800 number open for people calling about Trey Lance trades. But the fact that they've been open, that they're willing to hear people out on it, means that they're willing to move him, right? You don't say that about, unless they're using that to motivate him. You don't say that if you really believe in him. If they really believed in Trey Lance, they'd say Brock Purdy's injury recovery timetable is uncertain. And until we know he's healthy and ready to go, Trey Lance is the guy who's going to lead this team.
If they really
believed in Sam Darnold, then they haven't said any of that shit.
If they really believed in Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't have been on the roster last year. When the Chiefs believed in Patrick Mahomes, so they traded Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, no, this is 100% your team. Go get him, Tiger. Trey Lance, they gave him the start, and unfortunately he got hurt. But Jimmy Garoppolo is still there as an insurance policy when it made a lot of sense to get rid of him. Finally, they do let him go. Who knows if Brock Purdy's when he's going to be ready. You have Sam Darnold, who I think is actually really interesting in a Kyle Shanahan offense. But they also have 11 picks, and they could draft a quarterback too.
They They could move up into this. They've got like 50 third-round picks.
Yeah,
so they could move up into the second.
So many comp picks somehow. I don't know how that works even, but I would not be surprised at all to see them take hard to even like venture a guess as to the specific quarterback, but a quarterback. Yeah, like before the 5th round.
They could take a guy in the 3rd. Like if there's this like run on QBs in the 1st, then it feels like there will be like nobody's going to take a quarterback in the 2nd round. And then maybe like that guy who's out of those top 4 or 5 guys, right? Like after Hendon Hooker, whatever, maybe they're looking at one of those flyers again because they did it last year and it worked, but
it worked really well. It happens.
There's somebody's got to be interested in Trey Lance. Like that's the other part of it, right? And the Texans might very well be, but I think they move him. I think Zach Wilson, I tweeted out yesterday, who would you rather be, Mac Jones or Zach Wilson right now? And like what I meant by that is, would you rather be Mac Jones heading into the AFC East, knowing you're the worst quarterback in that division,
by far,
with a coach who probably doesn't believe in you and that you don't really like? Doesn't feel like Mac Jones
battling for a job with Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, doesn't feel like he's being set up for success. Zach Wilson obviously just had his job given away again to Aaron Rodgers, but like, I don't think it's a bad thing for Zach Wilson to not have the pressure of playing this year and to just
I don't either.
Be in that QB room and through practice and whatever kind of prove to the team that he has value at some point. Rodgers is a weird guy to try and work behind, I think, as a quarterback, possibly, but also he might be really good because I know Ben Kurt really liked playing behind him. So
he seems like a good teammate.
No, I think like once you get to know him,
Yeah.
His teammates really like him. Yeah. So, I think it's not a bad situation for Zach Wilson. Like, to be honest about it. Like, yeah, it sucks if you're the 2nd pick and you've been a fucking flat out bust.
Yeah. He needs to hit the reset.
Yeah. He came out. He was drafted way too high. It's just what it was. Of
course. Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't. And Trey Lance was too, probably. Like, 2 guys who didn't play very much football in college got picked 2 and 3 in the same draft.
Yeah, it turns out like when Bill Parcells wrote his like rules for drafting a quarterback a long time ago, one of the stipulations was he needs to have like 3 years as a starter, which is just kind of unrealistic now, but
yeah,
you should have 2.
2 is
which we're about to do that with Anthony Richardson again.
But the difference with Richardson is he's just a better athlete than everybody. Well, that's like the only way I feel like you can get the pass is you have to.
That's how you talk yourselves in. That's how you talk yourself into it, though.
Right? No,
Zach Wilson's got a crazy arm.
I want to criticize the people who get blown away by a quarterback's athleticism. Like I want to.
Yeah,
but I get it. I like it too much.
I agree. Yeah, it's very easy.
Like it too much. I want to see Jay Cutler set the record for QBs on the bench press again. Be like, yeah, that guy.
He did do that.
I know.
He was a crazy athlete.
Yeah. He just didn't look like it.
No, which is
I've never seen somebody look so unhappy while being a dominant athlete.
Yeah,
just so apathetic. Because like some dudes are good, they look intense. But Cutler was just.
He could get into it a little bit when he was younger. Before, I feel like he was a different player and a different person before the 2010 NFC Championship game when he hurt his knee and everybody gave him shit for standing on the sideline while Caleb Haney was in throwing picks to BJ Raji.
Same thing that just happened to Brock Purdy.
That's how close we were to getting Jay Cutler in a Super Bowl.
Damn.
That would have been cool.
Man, Jay Cutler would be the perfect quarterback to have one Super Bowl ring.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To the like Hall of Fame debate, like all that shit. It would be so fun if he were that guy, but he's not.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah.
Should we
What?
talk about these
Draft
visits?
visits? What the Broncos are going to do? Sure.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. So what I have gathered by listening to one Sean Payton is he looks at the draft as being a very fluid sort of thing. Basically said it's easy to move around in the draft. You want to move up, it's easy to do. You want to move back, it's easy to do. There's always teams and partners willing to wheel and deal. He kind of said it's not easy, but it can be done. Like,
yep. There's a price for everything.
Yeah. I think that's one nugget to suggest the Broncos are going to make an effort to do one of those things. And I think it is to move up because he also said it's really hard to find week one impact players when you're not picking in the first 2 rounds. Paraphrasing. Yes, we know that. Educated football fans know that. You can get a lot of great talent after the second round. There's always gems in there, but if you go and you start looking through teams' draft history, a lot of those guys you never fucking heard of, okay? You're just taking chances, educated guesses.
Yep. Sometimes they don't even have a Pro Football Reference page, like the Raiders.
Correct. But, and I talked a little bit about this with Tom, what you and I don't know, what I don't think anybody knows is what Sean Payton actually thinks of the current iteration of the Denver Broncos roster, right? Like, I don't know if he views them as a team that going into 2023 with what they do in the draft and based on what they've done in free agency can be a, playoff football team. Obviously, you assume a head coach looks at it that way. But I'm saying that to basically suggest that if they just stick with what they have in the third round and don't try and give up more capital to get up higher, then maybe they're looking at this next season as more of a let's figure out what we really have and how we build 2024 moving forward.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that kind of hasn't been talked about. We just assume like the Broncos are going to go all in to try and win this season. And maybe that's true, but like, I don't know. I don't know what Peyton thinks of this team. We don't know what he really thinks about Russell Wilson. I don't even know if he knows yet until he gets, there with him.
I think the only thing we did glean from free agency is he saw a massive void on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of money to fix it.
Yeah, and they were fast. They
Powers and McGlinchey. Yeah, they did not waste any time. It was Ben Powers, Bronco. McGlinchey, Bronco. They they sign Kyle Fuller, the center from the Seahawks, too.
Yeah. Which
a lot of people really want us to spend our first pick on a center. And we can get into that, but I don't understand necessarily like singling out one position when your first pick is in the third round.
Wait, was Quinn Miners in the 2021 draft class?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got something in my eye.
Yeah, I could see.
I know. What's going on? It's
okay?
allergies. It's allergies, yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. I get that too, where it feels like something's in your eye, but it's not. It's just allergies making your eyes itch.
It could be it, yeah. Or really could be like a piece of glass in there. I have no idea.
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
Does Will have glass in his eye? Where the fuck did the Broncos pick in this draft? Okay, so 35, Javonte Williams. Where is it? Oh, maybe we didn't. Saints. Oh, yeah. That's when the Chiefs took Creed Humphrey at the end of the second round in 2021.
Yep.
That turned out to be a really important draft pick for them. So I get why people kind of want a center, but I don't think Kush has been what we hoped he'd be.
I thought he was better than Glasgow last year when he got in.
That's what I was going to say. He's not the worst center in the league. So I think if they address it, they'll do it later. I don't think that's your biggest need.
I think if center was such a big priority, they would have. I don't know. I feel like they would have probably wouldn't have left it for the draft, right?
Right.
And I just think too. I'm not big on like need in the draft, filling needs necessarily.
Yeah.
That's not, especially when like, okay, you need a quarterback and you have the first overall pick. Yeah, it's filling a need. A center, like you can definitely upgrade center, but you don't have a pick until the third round. It's like, okay, if there's a center that blows you away, like if you like Luke Weipler, sure, go ahead, but you don't want to just go in saying like, we need a center and we need a center now, and we're spending our first pick on one position. It's just silly to me.
I agree with that philosophy more now than ever. It's just like, just take the best player available.
Who gives a shit? Like tight end.
Because even more so now with free agency and the spring leagues, you can try and fill some needs through those two things after the draft. Because I feel like more and more talented players are available in free agency every year. Like the running backs right now. You got Zeke's out there, Leonard Fournette's out there, Dalvin Cook could be out there if the Vikings do like move on from him. They're like these guys who could come in and actually fill that need. And you can get them probably a lot cheaper after the draft.
Yeah.
And you've got another talent pool because of the spring leagues. So just take the best player available. Unless you're picking top 10 and you can kill the two birds with your one pick there. It's like, yeah, we need an edge rusher. We're picking number 3, and we've got the best edge rusher in the class on the board.
It's like the Broncos desperately needed pass rush in 2011. And Von Miller's like, a lot of people are Darius Von Miller. Okay, we're taking Von Miller because we think he's great and he's at a position of need. Sure. But if you don't even have a player in mind, like, don't just say center. That's the last piece of the puzzle that we need. That's how you get yourself into trouble, I think.
Yeah.
You just want
Elway doesn't get enough. Yeah. Elway doesn't get enough credit for that Von Miller pick either.
It's his first pick, and most people thought we should have taken Marcel Darius.
Yeah. It was not like a slam dunk. He wasn't the consensus guy there too. So
no, it's very popular to say like, Elway fell ass backwards into Von Miller and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Not the case. Do your homework. Read up on it. Go to Wikipedia.
All right. So here are the guys the Broncos have met with.
Okay.
Let me just pop it up on the screen and make it visually more interesting for everyone. It's from Mile High Report. Thank you, Mile High Report, for putting this list up here.
Thank you, Scotty Payne. Scotty with a K.
All right. SMU, wide receiver, Rashee Rice. That would be a fun pick, I think.
Anytime you can take a wide receiver with the name Rice.
You do it.
From Mississippi, too. Yeah.
Northern Michigan tackle.
Wait, SMU is not Mississippi. I'd like to point that out. That's Southern Methodist. That's my bad.
That's where Cortland Sutton went.
I don't know. And Emmanuel Sanders. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Jake Witt, who is actually incredibly stupid, but great tackle. For name purposes, almost included this guy in our best names episode. DeMarvion Overshone.
I like it.
Overshone. That's a fun name. DeMarvion. Linebacker, though. So then we got a guard. We got another receiver. This guy does all the positions.
Quarterback, fullback, linebacker. That's a real Taysom Hill type of thing.
Yeah. That's probably why he's on Sean Payton. That was Sean Payton's request.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jack Coletto from Oregon State.
Yeah. Here's a guy. Sacramento State. You know him?
I don't know him, but I know the player, but Sacramento State had a great year last season. Won a lot of games, won a couple playoff games. The coach left them. Troy Taylor went to Stanford, but they had some real talent there.
Marty Mapu. Now, to me, this is a Vance Joseph guy, Will.
Yeah.
He's a linebacker safety hybrid, 6'2". The Cardinals a few years ago, they drafted was Isaiah Simmons, similar sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, he didn't quite work out there. But based on that sort of position and the hybrid role, that feels like a Vance Joseph request.
Yeah, and they also spent a first rounder on Zaven Collins, who is not necessarily a safety, but like a hyper athletic linebacker who can cover.
Yeah, a guy we thought the Broncos might target actually in that draft. Guard, interior defensive line, tight end, running back, corner safety, edge, corner kick returner, corner safety, running back, corner, running back, safety. And then they break it down. So you got 5 defensive backs they've met with. Garrett Williams, Art Green, Riley Moss, Isaiah Bolden.
I like Riley Moss from Iowa.
We need Rice and Moss. How can we go wrong?
I think so, yeah. And R. Moss. You just got mossed.
Oh, yeah, R. Moss.
Excuse me.
And then running back. There's 4 running backs, 3 linemen, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 linebackers, just one of these edge and interior defensive line. So far. I thought they met with more edge guys, but
because you get 30, right? You get 30.
Yeah.
And there's 21 on this list.
On this list, yeah. And it was updated yesterday or today, I think. But so maybe we're missing some people here. But it definitely feels like they think more depth in the secondary is key, which we've definitely been saying corner is a need. Running backs. Oh, yeah. They brought in Tank Bigsby.
Yep.
But they're going to look to add a running back. So
no Deuce Vaughn on this list. Disappointing.
No Deuce. You Heidest. Tight end. Okay. I get receiver. I wonder if there's more info on edge, but maybe they don't look at edge as big of a need as you and I have previously discussed. So kind of looking at this, it makes me feel like they're going to go corner and running back.
Yeah.
If they're just sticking, or they're going to trade up to get one of those positions. No, I don't think they trade up for running back, but maybe corner is what they would trade up for. So we're looking at a draft class that's deep in corners, deep in edge, especially the top end. If edge has like the true run in the first round, so more corners are available. Yeah, that would be a position I think they might be willing to trade up for. And you got to trust George Payton kind of knows how to evaluate corners based on the fact that we have one Pat Surtain.
And I also want to point out that one of the guys on the list, Isaiah Bolden, who led the NCAA with 37 yards per kick return, is on their list. A year after they spent, was it a 5th round pick on Montreal, Washington?
Yeah.
Like they want to flip the special teams. They want to turn that into a strength. It's been a weakness for so many years now. And they're not just going to wait on Montreal to figure it out.
No. I'm trying to find.
And Bolden's from Jackson State too, so he's got that Deion Sanders tutelage.
Who's the guy they added from Houston that does
right. What's his name?
My God.
He's a guy in that mold, though.
Broncos. Damn it.
The agents.
Damn it. Why aren't you showing up? I'll find him.
Tremont Smith.
Yeah, Tremont Smith.
Yep.
3 men in one. Tremont Smith. So that's another return specialist. You get a corner and another return guy. Yeah, I think it is spot on that they're looking for somebody who's going to fill one of those roles there. Running backs, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, Lou Nichols III, and Keaton Mitchell. You know any of those guys besides Tank Bigsby?
I don't. It's the only guy I know. Again, a disgusting lack of Deuce Vaughn, but just because they didn't visit, like teams take players that they didn't visit with all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because and they didn't visit with anybody who's projected to be like a first rounder, because you're really tipping your hand at that point. So it's as much like teams can see who you visited with. If you really like show your cards too much, then you lose leverage in the fluidity of the NFL draft, as Sean Payton put it.
Yeah. It's a little tricky when you are only picking at the third round first. But you still don't want other teams. Like, that's what we kind of forget about is like a good football team will know who you're looking at, who you've been looking at in the later rounds. So they know when they need to move up to try and leapfrog teams and shit like that. But this is just a long-winded way of saying, don't be surprised. This draft going to be a surprise for Broncos fans. Based on what everybody's saying about the top of the first round of this draft, there's going to be a lot of surprises anyway.
Yeah, we have no idea what's going to happen. People think Will Levis is rising the boards while CJ Stroud is suddenly a piece of shit who doesn't deserve to go in the first round anymore. It's always suspicious when that happens this late.
Stroud falls to Denver. Make it happen.
I would pull the trigger. I would have to pull the trigger there.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. Apparently he ghosted the Manning Academy.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Like,
well, if it's true, it's not a good thing to do.
No, but like, I mean, I don't even mean like him doing that. I mean, that Brady Quinn mentioned it on a podcast and then it got posted and then he bitches about it getting taken out of context, which maybe it was a little bit, but why would you even say that then? Like, I don't like when somebody puts something out there and then they get mad when the stories run with.
Right. And I
like Brady Quinn, but it's just like, don't tell people that he didn't go to the Manning camp.
I don't like this. Like, Brady Quinn has been doing Big Ten games for a long time. Presumably he's known about this for a long time. If it's such a, if it's such a big story, if it's such a character flaw, why are you saving it until now? Yeah.
And he played in the NFL as a quarterback, was a big name QB coming out of college. Like, he knows how all this shit works. Like, he knows it better than anybody.
Yeah. He's playing the game. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like people say stuff and then they get offended when it gets turned into a story. And don't get me wrong,
it's aggregated.
The aggregation of it and turning it into a thing, like I get that's annoying as well. But I listened to him talk about it. Like, well, yeah, but you brought it up. So what I really honestly believe for a guy like Will Levis now currently like getting better and better odds to be the number one pick. That's just the way sports books make money. They're getting a bunch of people to bet on that because people are thinking the odds are getting better. So like, oh, there is a better chance he goes. That's just like free money for the books. Like I literally think that's what that is right now.
Yeah, the gamification of sports and the draft is a little it's a little much, isn't it?
Yeah, but we asked for it.
We did. Yeah. I mean, I think just like the having to keep track of all the storylines and wondering who's really putting that out there and to whose gain, it's exhausting. And that's why it's been nice to not have a first round pick this year in a way, to detach from all that bullshit and just kind of call it as you see it when the picks come in.
Yeah, like reading between the lines is harder and harder because there's just so many lines.
It's not worth it. It's not worth getting worked up for it.
No. Just wait. Let it happen.
That's right. That's what we're going to do.
That's how the Broncos draft's going to go. I'm going to wait and let it happen.
Yeah. But if they trade into the top 10, we'll be there.
Yeah. They trade in the top 10.
If they trade into the top 10.
Yeah. They have ammo in 2024 draft picks. That's why they could move up. And also having back-to-back picks in the third round, that's a good piece of trade ammunition. But it's also a good way it's a good spot to trade away one of those picks.
I would agree.
Like, you might not need to make 2 back-to-back picks in the third round because there's just one guy you're interested in taking there. So you take him and then you trade away the other pick to a team trying to move up and you acquire some other capital. Or you trade that away earlier and you use that ammo to, have to move into the second or whatever. So they're not in an ideal spot. There's like no getting around having just 5 draft picks. That sucks. Doesn't mean they won't move, but just prepare to be mildly whelmed.
It's going to be the most whelming draft we've had in a long time.
We're going to get so freaking whelmed in this.
One last question for you. A couple tight ends on that list. What do you think about spending a pick on a tight end?
Luke Musgrave, Luke Schoonmaker.
Yeah. But just a tight end in general.
Yeah.
Is that something we need to do early? I don't think so. Because you have Alberto for another year. Obviously, Dulcich, when he was healthy, was really quite good.
Yeah.
And you also get your blocking guy in
Manhurts,
which is the best blocking tight end name of all time, of course. So I don't know. If there's someone who they think is like a really, really great talent, fine. But I don't think it's a huge
it's
priority.
Like they don't need I don't think they need a pass catching tight end. It's like if there's a tight end, they've
already got a pass dropping tight end. His name is Alberto.
Sorry, Al.
Just kidding. I hope he has a great year.
If they have a guy who they think is like a top tier pass blocking tight end or run blocking tight end, and they're really focused on, making that offensive line nasty, then yeah. But no, I don't think they need to be taking that position with their first pick in the third round.
Yeah. I mean, to play devil's advocate, like the 2 best tight ends in the NFL are Travis Kelce and George Kittle. And Travis Kelce, I think, was a 3rd rounder, and George Kittle was a 5th rounder.
Yeah.
So
you know who the Broncos took 1 pick before George Kittle?
I do.
Jake Butt.
Yep. I didn't hate the pick.
I didn't either. If he could stay healthy, he was going to be good.
They took a swing. It just so happened that, one of the greatest tight ends in the league was sitting there right before.
Yeah. And Kittle and Kelce are good examples because they're very different. Like,
yep.
Kelsey's not asked to block nearly as much as George Kittle is.
Mm.
But the Chiefs don't run an offense that's predicated on the run setting up most everything you do. And you wouldn't, and I'm not saying Kelsey can't block, but Kittle has turned into a very good blocking tight end.
He's a great blocker. He's not just like a serviceable blocker. He bowls people over. He's like integral, along with Kyle Juszczyk, to what they do.
Yeah. Kelsey's basically a receiver for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And they use it very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying the Broncos don't need that receiver there. They have to. It has to be a guy they think is an upgrade over Albert O at that point.
Yeah.
I guess maybe
I would like to give Albert O another go at it.
One more fair shot. I agree.
Yeah.
That's why I think like if there's a guy you think is like, oh, it's basically a tackle who can play tight end, then take him.
Yeah.
Because I will not feel good about the Broncos offensive line until into December, and we're like, this team's running for 180 yards every week. Russell Wilson's 22 of 28 with 2 or 3 touchdowns every week. Because the run sets everything up.
They want to do a lot of that old 12 personnel. Get those 2 tight ends in there. Pound the rock.
Yeah. So I just talked myself into being happy if it's a really good blocking tight end. But no, I don't necessarily want that. At that point, just take a tackle or a guard or some shit.
Yeah. I think we've decided, corner would be good.
Yeah. I think corner's kind of their sexy primo pick they need.
Can never have too many of them.
Nope.
Same
All
with
right. Next podcast, we'll be talking about shit that actually happened.
Yep. Thank God.
All right. Good night.
And John Elway played his entire career without an ACL.